All right. Well, that's The Grinch. Let's talk about Widows. Widows is the latest film from Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, of course, probably best known. I think his most recent film was 12 Years a Slave, I want to say.
Yeah,
About
well,
5 years ago.
he was like making an HBO show at one point, and then they like pulled the brakes on that during production.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because he did some short films, and then he started getting more into feature-length films. But yeah, he doesn't have any official
No, I
TV
mean like
credits. I know what you're saying, but
this
yeah,
is like in between 12 Years a Slave and Widows.
right. It was Codes of Conduct. The film, it was about it was like a BBC show, and I feel like I'm gonna butcher what it was about, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess the tradition continues with Widows because it's based on a BBC show.
right, yeah, that's right. A show,
Like
not a
BBC.
movie, and then yeah, we have this. I've never seen Hunger or Shame, his other two
Oh,
films. I've heard
dude, you
they're
gotta check those
fantastic.
out. Yeah, I
I
mean,
know. Need to catch up.
yeah, Widow. Sorry, no, not Widows. Hunger, I like a good bit, but Shame actually might be my favorite film of his. It's a tough call between that and 12 Years a Slave. But yeah, I mean, Shame was my introduction to him, and I was really impressed with that film. And it was, I believe, the first NC-17 film I ever saw in theaters, which was quite a distinction.
Interesting.
So that was
So
fun.
yeah, because I mean, I guess that came out quite a while ago, and 12 Years a
Uh,
Slave was about 5 years ago, and it is interesting to see like this big gap in his filmography. 12 Years a Slave obviously was a big awards favorite at the Oscars. Widows is a heist film, and it follows the story of a group of women whose husbands were caught up in this heist gone wrong and who lose their lives in the process. And then the fallout of this this heist, this death, and the money involved in all of that falls on the widows who have to pay back the men who were robbed, or else they lose everything, their lives, their wealth, everything. So Gillian Flynn also worked on this. This was who probably I think best known for Gone Girl at this point. She's published a bunch of novels. She did Sharp Objects, which was the really great show that came out this past year with Amy Adams. And I think her other novel, Dark Places, was adapted for a TV show at one point, but I'm not
it
as
was a
familiar with it.
movie, I believe, with
It was a
Charlize
movie?
Theron.
Okay. Yeah, I never saw
Didn't make
it.
a big splash. Yeah.
Regardless, a very talented novelist who she was also, I think, probably known before that for being a TV critic for Entertainment Weekly. So look
That's
out,
correct, yeah.
Will Ashton. You could be next.
Maybe. I wouldn't place your bets on that horse.
We'll
but
see what happens. But yeah, no. So interesting mix. Steve McQueen and Gillian Flynn, two very interesting filmmakers, I guess you'd call Gillian Flynn at this point. Widows stars Viola Davis. It also stars Liam Neeson, Michelle Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, Cynthia Erivo, who we just saw in Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell, Brian Tyree Henry, Daniel Kaluuya, and Jackie Weaver, Carrie Coon, Robert Duvall. Really packed cast. I mean, the ensemble here is insane. This premiered at Toronto International Film Festival. Reviews have been great. I saw this one last week. I think, did we see it the same night, or did you see it a little bit before I did?
I saw it Wednesday. Is that when you saw it?
I think I saw it. Yeah, I did see it Wednesday. So we saw it the same night.
Yeah.
Same night, different states. But okay, Will Ashton, Widows. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I'm a big fan of Stephen McQueen, not to be confused with the actor, but the filmmaker that has proven himself, I think, quite a few times at this point. As it stands for the film, I think it's probably his weakest of the four that I've seen, but I still liked it quite a bit. It's fun. It's a little pulpier than his other stuff. It's a little more crowd pleasing, I guess. It's a little more broad, I guess, than the sense that he's kind of going for a wider audience. But at the same time, I think kind of similar to how David Fincher approached Gone Girl. I think he is taking something that could have been a little exploitative and maybe verging on trashy, and he turned it into something that is deep in commentary, kind of commenting on the state of Chicago and inner politics and the tensions that are found in between like different citizens in different suburban areas and whatnot. And I think it's a pretty compelling film. It's obviously made by a great director, and I think that is shown throughout. I haven't seen the show that it's based on, but I could definitely tell that it was based on a miniseries because I think there's a lot of storylines in here that Steve McQueen, I think, sometimes has a little bit of trouble juggling. I think the main ones are obviously the central heist, and then we have let's see, what's the guy's name from Atlanta, Paperboy.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah, he and Daniel Kaluuya
Hmm.
from Get Out and Black Panther. They have a storyline that kind of is interconnected with Colin Farrell and Robert Duvall. That is, I think they're both interesting, but there'll be large chunks of the movie where I think they jump between one story to the other in a way that like they'll focus on the one for like 4 or 5 scenes. It's like, oh, okay, and then they'll like kind of go back to the Viola Davis thing, and that kind of messes with the pacing of the film. And I found that a little bit of a hindrance towards the film, but I think once it kind of gets its mojo working and kind of gets into like the main thrust of the story, I think has great energy. And I mean, obviously, it's Sean Bobbitt is the DP on this again, his regular cinematographer, and I think there are numerous shots in the movie that are so good they sometimes feel like they're like showing off how good they are at filmmaking, which um, I would be annoyed by if they weren't as good as they were, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's a good film. I think you liked it a little more than I did, though.
I did. I really like this one. What I liked about this was that it's one of those heist films that is much more grounded and realistic. You know, it doesn't do the sort of splashy Ocean's movie thing, which we just got Ocean's 8, which is interesting to see
Yeah.
this one, you know, also a female-led heist group.
Hmm.
And the stakes worked for me. The the way that they interconnected these characters and the way that you sort of mentioned, and I think Gillian Flynn maybe carries some of that weight for like how everything is balanced. I think ultimately it works really well, if only because I actually, and I keep going back and forth on this, and some people will call nonsense, but I do think it's kind of on purpose. The way that certain story threads are dropped here, which I think is like really one of the only significant criticisms you can really lob at this, is that you know it's big, it's ambitious, and ultimately I think some people will come away from it thinking that maybe their favorite character didn't get their due, or maybe it was very long, but it also felt like it ended before it was over.
Uh,
And that was actually something that I liked. That I liked the sort of lack of resolution for a lot of characters here. Not that there isn't resolution in a lot of certain respects, but sorry, you were going to say.
no, I mean, I think the movie is smart in how it's produced. I think my issue is more with like how it affects the pacing of the film. But as far as the storytelling, I think it's pretty good. My only thing was I felt kind of weird that they didn't really spend too much time with Michelle Rodriguez's character
Ah,
in the scheme of
that's
things.
interesting. I thought that I thought she had got plenty to do, honestly.
I
I
mean, she has stuff to do, but I think comparatively, like her story, her like kind of subplot feels a little lacking compared to Viola Davis and Elizabeth Debicki. Is that
mhm.
yeah? So I found that story a little lacking in comparison, but I think she did a pretty good job. I mean, I
Yeah,
something
I just
against the performances at all.
I don't think I agree. I think that it was actually pretty well balanced. I know that they do spend an interesting amount of time with Debicki, but then they also bring in Cynthia Erivo, who plays this character who I found myself really getting fascinated by, in the way that she sort of comes onto the scene,
Mhm.
and is certainly a character that when I rewatch this film, I'm going to be paying closer attention to sort of try to get into the head of like just to get into her head space. I mean, this is a much more cerebral film than I was expecting. You kind of touched on it, but like the politics of Chicago and all the factors at play
Chicago.
was Chicago. Yeah, it was much more. It was a much more gripping story than I was expecting, and it was also filmed in a way that I thought was kind of remarkable. I think it was a remarkably well told story. I think there are certain scenes in here that are just that are going to be sticking in my head. There's one in particular where the camera is hanging on a certain angle from the car where you don't see the characters
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It's such a great scene that it says so much with there's a good amount of dialogue, but without really, it's not on the nose. It's not, overtly genre. It does feel like a heist film that's being taken very seriously in a way that we haven't seen in a little while. That I definitely appreciated. Now, this isn't a territory for me. I don't think this is a necessarily a must see, although again, this is another film that I fully recommend to most people. I just think that you're going to get, I think for the most part, people are going to really get a kick out of this one, and they're going to enjoy it's just a really well told story here. I think that this is a heist that you won't exactly see coming in certain ways, and it doesn't do the typical heist things, but it knows that stuff is there. This is Steve McQueen has obviously seen a heist movie before, and he's sort of playing with your expectations for what that can mean. It's reminded me a little bit of American Animals, which kind of did something kind of similar with one of the best scenes in that movie, if not the best scene, that I appreciate here as well. But I have to give this one a little bit of a knocking down, if only because I'm still grappling with to what you said. I mean, I do think there's something to be said about the way some characters are given more to do than others. It wasn't necessarily something that held me back from Michelle Rodriguez in particular. For me, it was a little bit more Brian Tyree Henry. There was something about his character that I felt like was missing, something that really was going to make him click, because the performance was there. The performance was great. And he's complimented really well by Daniel Kaluuya. He plays this like just really devilish character. That was you can tell that this actor is just really loving what he gets to do in this movie.
I think he maybe steals the movie. It's hard to tell, but he definitely makes the most of it for sure.
The stares that he does, the way that he just is blocked in all of his scenes. It's something to watch. I mean, there's a one take with a beatbox scene in particular that's like what's going to happen, but it still kind of takes your breath away. And
for sure,
I dug it quite a lot. So I really liked Widows. I gave it a B+, and I hope people check this one out. I won't be surprised if it gets some Oscar attention, honestly.
Yeah, certainly with Steve McQueen, it's a possibility. I'm curious to see how it holds up. I don't know if it'll get any award attention in particular.
If only because there's a lot of competition, honestly. If this had come out last year, you better believe this would have gotten, quite a bit.
I think to Steve McQueen's credit, I think he, I know he had good intentions or strong intentions with the film, but I think he was using this, I think, as a chance to make a property that he loves a lot and he grew up with, and he wanted to have some fun, I guess. I mean, which is certainly understandable given how serious his last film was. So, I enjoyed the film. I guess I had some reservations about it, but and I also I don't know quite where I land on Colin Farrell's performance. It felt like more of an accent than a performance to me, but I don't know where I stand on that. But I thought, like we said, a lot of performances are standouts here. I also want to celebrate Elizabeth Debicki, who I thought was great, and I think this was a great showcase for her.
Really,
I think she's been in a lot of stuff recently. I think she was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, right? And the Night. What was that thing with Tom Hiddleston?
Oh gosh, I know what you're talking about. Because in Guardians of the Galaxy, she was like the gold character, right? I don't want to. She was. Let's see. So, Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2015.
That's right.
And then no, that's not what you're talking about, is it?
No. But I meant like you're right that she was in that.
Sorry. She was in. She voiced a character in Valerian. I don't know if I remember a film called The Night.
No, it was
was it a TV show?
It was a miniseries.
Oh, was it that? It's that miniseries the Tom Hiddleston, Night Manager.
Nightman, that's it. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. That's the one that everyone's been telling me I need to see, the miniseries.
Yeah, she was very good in that. I only saw a couple episodes, but she definitely stands out in that, and I think this is a great showcase for her as well. So I'm very excited to see where she goes. And I like the film. Like I said, I think it didn't reach the same heights as Steve McQueen's other films, but it's certainly a good film to watch, and I hope people check it out when they get a chance to see it. There was something else I was going to say, but I'm forgetting what it was.
Okay. I had one last thing to say about Elizabeth Debicki. She was in a lot of movies this year. She's in Cloverfield Paradox. She voiced the Peter Rabbit character. But one movie that not enough people have seen that I think they should go check out that she's in is The Tale. She has kind of a haunting performance in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the movie that's actually reminded me of a good bit was Killing Them Softly with Brad Pitt. Especially in the way that film explores crime in the city. And that was a movie that's reminded me of a good bit. So That's what I was going to say earlier.
What was your grade for Widows?
Oh yeah, I gave it a B.
All right, so B plus, definitely a good recommend from us. Thanks for listening. To hear more Cinemaholics, including this episode, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever else you love podcasts. See you next time.